Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be detailing the signal chain I use for this microphone, the RE20 by Electro-Voice, through my Universal Audio Apollo Twin X, which is sitting on my desk. What you're seeing here on the screen is the console software that controls all the processing it does. So currently this mic is sitting in my number 2 channel here. Let's just dive right into the chain. Oh, I should also tell you right off the top, this microphone, before it even hits the Apollo, is running through a Triton Audio Fed head. That is an inline preamp that boosts it about 27 or 28 dB before it even reaches the Apollo. So my signal from this microphone is being boosted before the Apollo. That's why right here, I'm only up at about 28 dB of gain. The unison preamp I use is the Solid State Logic 4000E channel strip, and we'll just go top to bottom. There you see my microphone gain. The transformer is off. In terms of dynamics, like this is a channel strip, so it's got everything. Compression, expansion, gating, high and low cut filters, a full complement of EQ, parametric EQ. So we'll go over this first here. Nothing in terms of compression on the channel strip. I am using some downward expansion here. There are a couple choices. Expander, there's gate 1 and gate 2. I'm using the expander, and you'll notice when I don't talk. See that LED light going up to 6? It's reducing about 6 dB of noise, maybe self-noise, maybe room tone, whatever it is. It's reducing about 6 dB when I don't talk. You see the settings here on the screen. The range, I'm just below 5. The threshold, a little bit higher than -12. And a really fast attack. You can see that the button is pulled out here. That light is on. And also a really quick release. Quick release, quick attack. The range is where it's at. The threshold is there. The biggest thing I'm aiming for in downward expansion, trying to reduce that noise when I'm not talking, is seeing it light up right there at about -6. Okay, so my expansion is in. Let me take it off here. Watch. Can you hear a difference there? A little bit of room tone? You really got to be listening. By the way, put on headphones or listen to this on studio monitors so you can really understand the sound. By the way, later in this video, I'll let you hear this mic completely unprocessed at some point too. Okay, so the low cut, the high cut, all of those completely off. I'll do some low cutting later on when I get to the Neve 1073. All right, so that is a look at dynamics, a look at expansion, which is on. Now we'll get to the EQ section. My EQ is turned on down here, but top to bottom, high frequency, and my highs here are actually tuned in to about 4,000 hertz. Very much a speech range. I'm trying to boost that just a little bit, maybe 2 to 3 dB. I am on that bell curve at that range. And then here in the high mids, I'm actually not doing anything. It looked like at some point I was thinking about using a 750 hertz cut here. I think I tried that for a while. I thought it was too much. So high mids, not touching it at all. You can see the gain is detented right there at 0, detented at 0. Okay, and then in terms of the low mids, I am reducing kind of a significant amount here, maybe -4 dB on a pretty tight Q, right? This is my Q. It's how narrow the curve, or in this case, the cut is, not the boost, but the cut. Pretty narrow cut at about 250 hertz. I use this cut a lot on my voice to reduce some of the muddiness. In fact, I'll just let you hear it, what it sounds like if I boost it. It's a little bit honkier right here. Like the noise, it sounds like my nose is plugged, I feel like, when I boost it all the way up. That does not sound good. It's got some resonance to it. So that's an area that I almost always cut. I'm cutting it about, what was I, about -4 dB right there. Then we get into the low frequency. I am on the bell curve here. I am boosting about 3 dB. They don't let you do a Q here. But at about 100 hertz is where I'm pushing the low frequency. Sorry if I popped it there. Pushing the low frequency of this microphone. Okay, so that's the EQ section of the SSL. I'm giving it a little bit of love right here on the slider and just a tad more of a boost on the output. I want to kind of let what this plugin, what it does, I want to let that sing a little bit. I really want you to hear it. The 1176 LN, the low noise version, this is deactivated. I know people will see this and say, what is that in your chain? Same thing with the Pultec at the very end. I'm not using these. They're grayed out. At one point I was, but I've modified my chains over the years. So they're just kind of sitting there, not actually doing anything. So what's actually up next is the Neve 1073 Legacy plugin. And we'll just go left to right. I am boosting a little bit. I like my plugins to each boost a little bit. It's part of gain staging. It's part of a little bit of saturation of the actual sound, what I want to get out of these plugins. If they're not adding to the ultimate, final result of the sound, they're not doing as much. So that's the explanation of that. High frequency, which I believe on this plugin is it's set at around 14K. I'm not doing anything there. This mic has plenty of top end. I really don't need to touch that. Then in terms of the mids, I'm set here at around 700. So remember before on the SSL, I wasn't doing anything at 700. Here on the Neve, I am cutting at that frequency range, about 700 hertz and only about 1 dB. It's a very slight curve and a cut right there in the mid-range, if you can see that. And then last but not least, down at 60 hertz. So even below, below the frequency range of most ears and most speakers, 60 hertz right here, I'm boosting at about 2. I'm really trying to push the bottom low end as much as I can. And in fact, I told you before that I was not low cutting on the SSL. I am here low cutting on the 1073. I'm low cutting at about 50 hertz. The EQ is on. So this is where I reduce some of the mud out of it. And watch, if I bring this up to 160, here's how it sounds. Can you hear that difference? It's missing a lot of low end right now. 80 would also, I think this is a comfortable sound, quite honestly. Where this is at, I'm still getting the low registers. I can hear it. It sounds good, but I'm just going to leave it at 50 right here to get the full effect of the voice. I can always cut later, better than trying to add something that's not there later on. So that is the Neve 1073, which brings us to the last thing of the chain here, the Teletronix LA2A compressor. And this is pretty simple. A couple things to look at. I'm on limit mode. The emphasis knob is turned to about 2 o'clock. Gain here is somewhere between 20 and 30, probably closer to 30. And then peak reduction is probably about 35. Now, the biggest thing you'll notice is that I'm on gain reduction mode, and you'll see when I don't talk, this needle goes to 0. So at that point right there, it's not reducing anything. It's 0. Of course, there's no sound. But when I talk louder, or pretty much during normal speech here, you will see this needle active, like it's always cutting something, which is good. And it's never really passing -3. -3 for me on the LA2A is kind of the indication of that's where you want to be living. 0 to -3 in normal speech. And look, as I talk here, that's pretty much where it hangs out. That is perfect. You're not compressing too much. You're not flattening this sound. You're not deadening it too much. It's not sounding overly compressed. You don't get a lot of those artifacts in between. This being an optical emulation of a compressor, it's going to have a slower, more natural, gluey sound as you put it together. I love this compressor. I use this plugin on pretty much every microphone that I use here with the Apollo Twin X. So that's it. That's pretty much my signal chain. I did have the Pultec here on the end because sometimes I'll just give you this for bonus. If you wanted to low cut and high cut, even at the very end of the signal, look, now I've cut the bottom side up to 250. That sounded awful. Or if you wanted to chop it off a little bit at the top, if you wanted to cut at 100 hertz and 10,000 hertz, if you really wanted to box in your sound, say I was doing an audiobook and I wanted to bring it up here, that's probably too high. 100 hertz and let's say 8,000 hertz. So now this is more of an audiobook type sound. Wouldn't you agree? Critically listen to this right now. It's not as fatiguing on the ears. It doesn't have all the punchy low end and all the sparkly top end. But I leave this last on the chain in case I just want to, kind of brick wall it at the end. That versus this sound right here. Now, I also told you that I wanted you to hear this microphone completely unprocessed. So we will do that. Okay, here is this microphone completely unprocessed. Again, going through a Fed head, that's about 27 dB of gain, and also going through this Apollo, which is, I think, only boosting it here, at 28 dB. So this is the mic, completely dry, completely raw. There is that low cut filter switch on the mic, which I'll now also turn on. Now it's really cutting the low end of this microphone. There shouldn't be any kind of low presence to it right now at all, but let me deactivate that. Okay, now that's back off, but this is the microphone completely dry, raw, unprocessed. Let me know what you think about how this sounds versus ultimately the signal chain I'm working with here for this microphone on a normal basis. Okay, that's the RE20. That's my signal chain here for the year 2023. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to this channel. I've got more great stuff coming your way on Home Studio Pro. And thumbs up on this video if it provided you some value.